What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Grab Your Torch with Caleb and Joel. We're here to break down Survivor 45, episode 11, which featured Emily's demise, which is so tragic. And just as I said, she's going to win last week, she's gone already. And so the Matt chat is dead. And
No
so
more. Thank
yeah,
goodness.
what are your thoughts about the episode?
Dude, I think it was a pretty good episode, all things considered. It was cool to see how Trainwreck got. Like so much led to everything. And, it was like I wasn't really expecting the boot, but sucks that Emily's gone. She was pretty much the main character of the season. Crazy she was gone so early, but people kind of described it as like she was like the Christian Hubicki of the season. Like someone gets taken out kind of before the finale and fan favorite, all that stuff. But it was a bummer to see her go.
Absolutely. And she definitely would have had a very strong chance of winning if she made it to the end. And so I think it was smart on them to smart on Julie to make that move to take her out. But given all the events that took place that led up to that moment, I feel like there could have been a lot of decisions made that would have produced a better outcome for a lot of the players, such as Austin, who we saw him and Dee kind of have a little bit of showman stuff going on, which kind of set up the entire episode and made decisions for everything. And so I think I don't it was interesting to me. I don't like I a lot of us saw it coming because they were hinting it for a while, but I enjoyed that dynamic and stuff. Like we had a clip from All Stars, which is kind of crazy, but they never shy away from trying to show Boston Rob on screen. But yeah,
Why would you?
I enjoyed the scene. I think that's obviously Austin's demise. Like his win equity just went down so hard after this week. Just because
Yeah.
he just went with D, and I think if the two of them are in a final three together, D definitely has the edge there because she's the one that got her way yet again this week. And instead of taking out Austin, which Julie initially wanted to do, she kind of went back and just like convinced her to pick Emily as the boot instead. And so I think everything that led up to that was just crazy from a lot of players. I think for Jake and Katura, it was the best move for them. Like they had no idea they were just trying to do something, and that would have been very good for their games if they were able to get out Julie and then keep Emily around as a number for them. Uh, but I feel like everyone was in their best interest except for like Austin and Drew at that point. At the point in the episode when Julie sits down with Emily and Jake, I think it's Emily and Jake, and she's like, "Hey, let's make a move. Let's take out Austin." And then they tell that to Drew and Austin, and they're like not really tipped off by that. Like they don't recognize the fact that why would Julie be throwing out Austin's name unless like she had something or knew the plan, you know? And I don't know. It was just like a fumble there. Like they should have Drew and Austin should have pivoted at that point and said, we got to take out someone else instead. Or Drew himself, because Austin's so tied down to D, he could have said, "Hey, Emily, Jake, Katura, let's take out D instead, and don't tell Austin because he screwed up this entire plan." You know,
Yeah, I think
so
I think that
there's
was
just a lot
awesome.
of options. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do you think they should have done?
I think probably the thing is, I think all of this starts with like the fact that Drew just wins immunity straight out. Because I think if not, Drew's gone. I don't. I think he got really lucky winning immunity because I can imagine Julie would have just voted him. And who knows if Austin plays the idol on Drew or not. But there have been a lot more like reason to vote out Drew than there is not to vote out Drew. So I can imagine he would have been the boot. But with him getting immunity, I and him essentially having pretty much control over like this entire vote, I think he should have just taken out D. I don't really. I know he's trying to appease Austin in that, and I think Julie is probably like the most optimal person to get out if she doesn't play the idol, but she did play the idol. And the fact that he didn't even consider splitting the vote is kind of wild. Like I get you're immune and like it seemed like they're pretty confident that like Julie wasn't voting him, but that's still a time to like make your move. And I think they accidentally made the most optimal move for themselves where the Reba 4 are now at the final six. And like, especially with Drew, like you have to take out D, you have to take out Julie, you have to take out Austin. But before you take out him, like I think he's pretty accidentally good, well positioned outside of the fact he's about to throw a pot in the next episode. But I think that would have been their optimal move to take out D instead of and just let Julie not have a big move.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think the jury may see it as a big move, but it really was D doing the dirty work there, like saying, Julie, no, vote for Emily. We're not gonna take out Austin right now. And yeah, I don't know if that was good for Julie. I think Julie should have just taken the shot at Austin so that she could have D to herself at that point and that she doesn't have to share. I think in the Reba 4, like the safest two members are Austin and D because they have the pair of D and Julie and then Austin and Drew. And then they have those two and then Austin and D are together. And so it feels like Julie and Drew are like on the stragglers out of the group.
Uh,
And so I feel like one of them will be targeted again next week or both. It might be like Drew versus Julie, and I think D's safe, but I for next week at least. But after that, like she's got to be taken out eventually because there's 6 people left. If she makes it to the end, like it's very dangerous for everyone involved. I don't think I could see anyone winning in that scenario, and so I don't know. It's been interesting to see like an actual like dominant alliance, yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit with like the Tika 3 from last season. Um, Sometimes Pagani is obviously boring. Like I mentioned this last week that it's just like a miracle that in the new era there is a Pagani. Like
yeah,
these people are just taking out everyone systematically. I mean they haven't had to eat each other yet, and they tried to, but they they're still all 4 together with 6 people left, and they've ensured at this point that at least one of them will make it to the end. And so I feel like that's a success in of itself because any one of them that sits next to Jake and Katura, in my mind, likely wins. Although
mm,
I don't know about what you think, but I think Katura had a lot of like good editing moments as well as like her trying to find herself in this episode.
mhm.
I don't know. What did you think about like her story? Kind of
I think
it's all kicked
yeah,
off without Bruce. Like we've actually seen from her. So
I think her story really recontextualizes a lot of her game. The fact that like Bruce is so overbearing and that's her story of like people being very overbearing at her. That makes a lot of sense. It puts in context why she doesn't have contact with her mother, being in essentially a religious cult, all these things, having to leave, having to work, finding herself. And I think it's like really good stuff. It's a very like unique story you don't really see on television or in general, seeing people having to leave something like that. And for her to become a lawyer is pretty cool, especially without like any formal like education for a long time. And I think it's really inspiring. But I think for her, I can imagine now, like they set up her and Jake at fire. Like they showed them both like kind of chopping away at it. I can imagine. Oh, I'm almost guaranteed one of those two I will go in the fire, if not both of them.
yeah,
But I can see a world where like Austin wins final immunity, takes D, and like the Boston Rob Amber situation where it doesn't matter between those two.
right.
Where I think Katura's only optimal way to get to the end and win is with Drew, Jake, and her. And I do think like Jake straight up gets votes. Like he has a lot of votes already for him with Kaleb and Bruce. Like I think those are 2 locked votes for him. While Drew might have 3 before, and it would just be so hard for her to get votes. But she would have maybe Kelly and Katura, so it would be an interesting final 3. But I just
Yeah,
don't think we're going to get that.
yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, I really like her game. I like how she's doing it. I like her voting confessional. That was hilarious. And it also really makes Austin look bad.
Yeah, it does.
So
And I also think like Drew has a lot of options now. Like he can essentially force a tie this week by siding with Jake and Katura and realizing that like I have to get rid of one of these people. And if the tie is between me and someone else, like if let's say Drew, Katura, and Jake target Julie again or target D, like in a tiebreaker scenario, I'm guessing Julie, D, and Austin would all put their votes on Drew, and then if worst came to worst, he would only lose Jake or Katura. and he would still be in because of the tiebreaker, um, for both of them being immune. So I feel like that would be a really good move for Drew to, like, take a shot at one of them if nothing really opens up, just saying, like, "Let's just go to rocks," you know?
Mhm.
But at the same time, Jacob Couture could also flip, so, it's just, um I don't know, I was just thinking through that a little bit, and we also had that moment when they were practicing fire when Jake and Couture were practicing fire when Couture was like, "Oh, why can't we just vote someone out at 4?" I was like, "Yes, why can't we?" This is
Yeah, no.
the voice of the people, you know?
Yeah, for real. I really like her personality. I don't know why we do. I get the idea of putting fire making at 4, but I always thought like the thing is like 4 is like the final test. Like if you're a good player, you make it past 4.
Right.
And we've had great winners before that. And honestly, fire making, if anything, has ruined getting good players. Where I do think
Yes.
Jesse plays it completely differently if he knows he doesn't have to. Cody doesn't have 2 chances to make it to the end. Like he probably doesn't make the move at 6. He probably waits to vote him out at 5 or 4 because there's no shot he wins all the 2 immunities,
Right.
and he probably goes on to win. Same with like so many people. You can look at Tony. Tony probably makes it to the end without fire. Like, but he was almost in a position where he was just screwed out of fire.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, and I think
I'm not a
yeah.
fan of it.
I completely agree. I think Fire's kind of, like, taking the strategy out of it a little bit. Like,
Mhm.
true yeah, like what you're saying, truly good players can make it through that, like, can m beat don't have to worry about Fire and still make it to the end and win in that way. And then Jeff talked about on Fire, he was saying, like, "Hey, after this fire making, let's revisit this a little bit. I have a few ideas." And everyone in the community is like, "Just get rid of it?" Like, "That's an idea?"
Yeah,
Like, like, they're gonna do something. If they're gonna take it out, they're gonna, like, add some other twist like they did with the auction, It's not gonna be like a normal removal of the challenge, and I think that would be huge, unprecedented, really, if
mm.
they took that out, but I just don't know if that can happen. I hope it does.
To me, like fire making as like a chat. I if you wanted to make the fire, I think it would be cool if that was just final immunity. Like final immunity is just you make fire, whoever makes fire fastest wins immunity. I think that would make a lot of sense to
Yeah,
me. And but like I think the idea around it is to like give like these players like a chance. Like the ones that make it to 4, but then they just vote them out of 5. You look at all
right,
the last new era of like number 5s, all of them are like the biggest jury threat.
right,
You have
absolutely.
Hard, you have Lindsay, and like I guess Lauren, but like Lauren was seen as a jury threat. And you just it might have been Jamie. I don't remember. But it was one of those two.
Right.
Um but like now you are in a position where Austin more or less could have, if he played correctly, he would have been almost guaranteed final 3 from final 7 on. Like final 8, I think he won number 8 or 7, and which is a crazy streak and very impressive. But I always like that the final vote you can't do an idol. All you have to do is either immunity or social your way in. And this
Yeah.
time you give someone like Ben a chance to win over Devin, who played the optimal
Uh,
game.
yeah,
And
who played a
I don't
better
know.
game
I just hope
and
it's
should have
not.
won. Yeah. It's
Maybe
it's
maybe
it's
sports
frustrating.
better.
Yeah, it is frustrating just because, like, there already is a final immunity challenge. Like, why do we need a fire making challenge as well? Like, it's just I like your idea of just having fire making be the final 4 immunity challenge because we've seen, like, that stupid challenge over and over again for the last immunity where they put the ball in and it goes around, and then they have to catch
Oh,
the
it's
ball.
honestly.
I have no idea what it's called, but they've been doing that, like, the last few seasons, and, like, we haven't seen anything new, but at the same time, like, they're still fire making, so that challenge, like, they get to whoever wins just decides, we'll put these 2 at fire, we'll see what happens." They can choose to do it too, which was what Chris did. I think we've seen all the permutations that fire making can bring us, and so, like, I don't think we'll be getting anything else out of it, I guess, in the future.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I think looking at the game where Dee's getting her way, I'm not as like put into the fact that Dee is winning. I think she's probably the most likely to win. And I think she's played in a crazy good game. Like I the fact that she has straight up not been targeted. I don't even know if her name has been written down. Like it is very impressive to me that she got her way. Where I do think Julie's optimal move was actually to vote out Emily because one, taking out Austin, it basically guarantees that Drew is flipping that either D or Julie are gone. And if you're Julie, you're not trying to just like win out. You have to social game your way. But for D, taking out Emily was always the optimal move. In fact, I think it was the optimal move for Drew and Austin to begin with. And it shows her being right. But I also think it showed her being wrong. I think her telling Julie was shown like her like messing up. And it's kind of weird where I think it's like very like middled where I'm not really sure who wins. I truly think that like
No.
there's a shot that it comes out of nowhere and loses or something crazy.
Yeah, we had his tree confessional today.
Oh yeah,
He's upgraded from the tree
yeah, he's
as
getting
a
there.
side
He's
character. Yeah.
maybe that's his arc. He goes to getting the solo, getting the lead.
Yeah, I don't think he can pull it out. I honestly, it's between the four. Like I just feel like it has to be. That's what the whole season's been set up to be.
Mhm.
If anything, because I feel like the story has been a little bit jumbled and all over the place. Because I initially thought like Caleb and Emily were just going to be the duo that just ran the entire game after that one episode, and then that didn't really ever pan out. And so when we had the Reba 4 kind of set up from the beginning, like that's been the main story and leading up to Austin and Dee's showmance and then them having to eat each other now that they're at 7 and now 6. I think we'll have a very, very interesting last 2 episodes. Like the finale, I just cannot wait to see how it plays out. Um, like I haven't been this excited to see a winner in a while. Like just to like
Yeah,
watch the finale and see just what goes down because I feel like there's so many options. Whereas like last season, it's like yeah, the Tika three is just gonna all three go
yeah.
to the
One of
end. Blah,
them
blah,
was
blah.
gonna win.
Well, one of them's gonna win. Yada yada. I feel like one of the Rebas is gonna win, but the question of how is
Mhm.
interesting to me this season because there's 4 of them, and they don't have a lot of room to hide anymore. So yeah, I don't know. Anything else to mention on that part?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like Austin is like immune this next episode, and especially if he wins immunity, then does he play the idol on D? Does he play it on Drew?
Right.
And that's where I think like a rock draw would be cool, but I don't think I think it would be more optimal for Austin. Like if Austin or D win immunity and they play the idol on each other, that's when I think a rock draw would be more optimal, where it would guarantee that they could just get out whoever they wanted because they would
Right.
just need Julie's vote and everyone on that side would be immune. And it would
Exactly.
force Drew's hand. And I think, truthfully, if I had to rank the Reba 4 on like most likely to win, it'd be like D, Julie, Austin, and then Drew. Because this episode was just terrible for Austin. It didn't
Yeah.
show him in a good light at all, other than the fact that he was an emotional player. And I think it was a clear difference that like Jake as an emotional player is different than Austin as an emotional player.
Yeah.
Where Austin had literally like I guarantee final three. Like he could have been arguably one of the most dominant players of this season. And yet he gave a lot of that power
He
off to
let his
D.
feelings get in the way.
He did. Can't have
Yeah.
that happen.
I mean, I do think Drew would have a better chance to win than Austin if he made it to the end, but I think his path is just incredibly difficult. Like Drew is going to need to pull out some more immunities to get there, you know? Like that's kind of what it's looking like at the moment for him. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have a lot of options because he kind of revealed his hand this week with the way he went after Julie. And he was the main one doing that, and he would have been gone if he didn't have immunity in that situation. And so, um,
Yeah.
which
But
would
oh
have
sorry.
bitten Austin in the butt because he's trying to work with Drew, and if he went and told D the plan, and then that got Drew voted out, I'm like that just sucks for Austin. Like that
Really
made his
bad.
move even worse, you know. So I think we just have quite the interesting setup. Like if Drew doesn't win immunity, it's probably just going to be a dog pile on Drew, to be real.
Mhm.
But if he
Probably.
does, we're about to see some interesting stuff go down. So
Hopefully so. I do want to give my remarks to Emily, the
I know.
main character this season. Seeing her it was kind of looking at it now, it's kind of very foretold. Like she goes on the journey, we get to see her journey. It was kind of like displayed that her not going for immunity was a poor decision. All this stuff, but it was like I don't know. I feel like her, like she did mess up. Like this wasn't. I don't feel like this was as much of a robbery as some people say. I think she messed up by revealing all her stuff about Bruce, and like
Yeah.
then everyone was like, "Shoot, we gotta like vote her out." Like, and even like with a few like videos from Ponderosa that CBS posted, like Kelly was very high on Emily, and you could see the jury's reaction when she got voted out. Like she was winning. And I think it was so cool. She's such an interesting person, like such an interesting character. She unfortunately said that she would never want to return,
Mm.
and but you never know.
You
Like,
never know.
hopefully she does. I mean, she's such a lock if she ever does want to
Right, if
return.
she decided to. I think if that's true, then, like, I feel like Caleb's still, like, the only lock so far.
Mhm.
Like, we haven't seen the finished story of the rest of the people in the game, you know, so it's kinda hard to say with them.
Yeah.
But as far as people who have been voted out, I would say Caleb's the biggest lock. I feel like Kelly could come back because she's just a gamer.
Hmm.
But
I
besides
can
that, like, what's
I can
that?
see a Bruce return,
Yeah, me too.
like
He's
a
just
fan.
a right. I feel like if there's, like, a fan vote, like, people would just vote for Bruce.
Yeah, he's such a
But I
funny.
that might I
Funny.
just a lot of my friends don't really like him, which is interesting, but I enjoyed him a lot, so
Yeah, I liked his art, but I think Emily's arc is like to me, like for a single season arc, seeing Emily go from like being near voted out to like now is such a difference. Where I do think on a return she would do so well, like
absolutely.
a lot better than I could even imagine. Especially now knowing and like preparing and all this stuff. We're going to a second chance season where she's not going to be the biggest threat. She would do really well. She has amazing reads. She was a great character. Her having girls' night, that confessional with the wine, her reaction to winning the reward, like she's just so funny to me. And it's such a bummer she didn't go on to win. I know like the story was like setting her up and all this stuff. And even for me, like I was shocked because like I thought she was so well positioned. And this was like
Right,
she kind of blew up her position, but also like she got voted out in like by one vote by an immunity or by a idol.
right.
And I mean, what a way for her to go out. And it does say that the Lulu losers are the worst placing tribe in Survivor history, which I think is very fitting.
Yeah, it is. I I think they're tied. I don't think they're are they outright?
Are they?
I thought
I
they were
thought they were.
tied.
They
Okay,
might be tough.
I'm not sure. But yeah, they pretty bad tribe there. But Emily was very impressive. Caleb was very impressive, and so and honestly, Sabaya was impressive for the
She
little
needs to
time she
come
was
back.
on. Yeah,
She's the only person
she's
I would say is like really
robbed
needs to come
goddess
back.
from the pre-merge. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to go into this real quick. Like, let's say season 48 is New Era All-Stars. Who are
Mhm.
your like I guess we can go back to 41, like 41 through 45.
Okay.
Give me a few names that stick out to you, and I'll do the same.
Okay, I'll give you I'm gonna go off of like realistic picks where I think would come back. From 41, I would imagine Erica just came back on Traders, but I don't think I don't think production would necessarily want her back, especially in the likes of like having a Marianne, who I do think would come back. I think Marianne and Jam Jam are the two winners I would imagine come back. They
Yeah,
might give
they wouldn't
Mike.
pick Gabler.
I don't think
Yeah.
that'd be crazy to watch, but I don't think he would. I would think Ricard would come back. I would think Shan. I know some people don't like Shan, but like I think she's a lock to
I think
return.
Shan was awesome. Yeah, she's
I just think Xander would probably come back.
yeah,
Xander's probably
that's
comes
true.
back. 42, Jonathan. I know he was weird like on the season with some of the stuff he said, but like the casual audience loved him. I
Right.
think they would make a season for him to return. I think Omer would return. I think Mike would return as well, although
Yeah.
there's all of them are pretty close, so who knows? I think 43 is the easiest. I think it's Jesse. Jesse's such a
Yeah.
lock.
Jesse and
And
Cody.
Cody, they're both coming back, and I actually think they would run it back. I think
Yeah.
Carla would come back. I think Cassidy would.
I don't know.
I
She's like putting herself out there a lot, like making a lot of like salty comments and stuff just
yeah,
after the
like
season. I
which I get, and like, well, like she probably deserves to say
right.
it, but I do think like I think they would rather see her return than they would Mike. And then 44, I don't think you do it without
I would
the teeth.
also on yeah, no, 43, I would also not fail to mention Owen. I feel like
Yeah, he's a good one.
he was a great character. Like I feel like he got robbed a little bit, just like what happened to him. Like I like to see Owen and just like his personality was just fantastic. So
Hmm. And
um
then this season's weird because we don't have like, I mean, Emily obviously
yeah,
and Kayla,
Caleb.
but like realistically, who knows if Emily can come back? But like, I say any of the Reba four would be great to return, especially
Hmm.
like Dee and Austin, like which they're comparing to the new school, like Rob and Amber. Like, I think
Right.
it'd be cool to see them back if they're already compared to them. So that'd be
And
mine.
honestly, like at this point, if they're gonna make it all the way to 48 without doing a returning or even 50 for that, they just gotta do 20 players. They can't just do 18. Like they gotta get
Yeah.
the most out of it as possible because there's just so many people that just need to come play again. And I feel like at this point in time, like I'm not ready to let go of pre-40 people like we discussed a few weeks ago on the podcast,
Yeah.
but I would be interested to see a new era All-Stars because we've had a lot of that's kind of just all we've had. And so I don't know. I like Monday morning quarterbacking about, a potential returning season. And a lot of everyone online's like, well, Jeff, when he was mentioning that fake season about like the first boots versus, runners up seasons, like he pitched
Yeah.
48 and that was like the first season that came to mind like immediately. But they literally haven't taped it yet. They're not even close to taping it. Yeah, they have a few months to decide what they're gonna do, with that season. And so I don't know.
Yeah. And I think
Anything could
like
happen.
I think a long time ago, I think the most likely is just second chance. I think second chance would just satisfy the needs of everyone being like, oh, bring back pre 40. You bring them all back. And then the new era has officially truly begun after that, where no one before that comes back, unless it's
Right.
like some, but or like a legend season. But I don't think
Which
they're
would
gonna
be
try to do
probably
legend.
50-50. They
I don't think
really
they'll
need
do
to just
legend with them.
say,
Right?
let's do second chance. I mean, on the casting website, it's like apply for season 47 and future seasons. Like it doesn't say 48.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I would think imagine like applying and you get on and you're just like one of fans' favorites. You're like, oh gosh.
yeah, you're just screwed.
You're like,
All right.
nothing.
One more thing to mention. I saw that Netflix is bringing Pearl Islands onto Netflix, which is a really good
Dang.
season. A little old school representation. And so I think that would be great. If any of y'all listening or watching haven't seen Pearl Islands, you should watch it when it comes on Netflix. I always recommend that first because it's like there's no ads and most people have Netflix, so it's like watch those seasons because they're all
Yeah,
generally pretty good newbie seasons. Except they put like heroes versus villains in like Micronesia at one point in time, but other than
yeah.
that,
You're like, okay, but both of
yeah,
those are great
what
seasons, but you gotta have some context.
right.
But that's
So
okay.
Pearl
Yeah.
Islands, y'all if y'all haven't watched it, watch it. It's great. And then predictions, who's gonna win this game?
I'm gonna go with the obvious pick. I'm gonna go with D, and I'll do my second pick, which is gonna be. I don't think it'll be Julie. I think after that, I would say Austin.
Interesting. Yeah, I it's got to be D. I don't know. And then watch her get booted next week.
I
um,
think my thought is like Julie's. I feel like Julie's set up as like the final boss.
right.
I think Drew is just so far down. I think someone
Yeah.
from the Reba Four is going to win.
Austin doesn't have any caliber. Honestly, if Austin makes it to the end with Jake and Katura, I'm not so strong on Austin. You know? Like I just
Yeah,
don't even know.
I think he would get. I think he would get the Reba Three. I think he would
Well,
get
yes.
Emily, and I think he would.
Well,
He
that's
would
four.
probably get. That's for hit. Like I don't know. Like who goes where else other than that. I think Caleb. Wait, who's? I think Bruce would go Jake. I think Caleb would go Jake. I think. Kelly goes Katura. I think Kendra goes Katura. I think it would be a 5-2-2
Hmm.
if I had to guess. Where I think just getting those 5 votes off the rip wins him the game. Because I think he has 4 lock votes.
Yeah. Is
So I think he
there
does win, but
there's only 7 jurors. Is there
yeah.
8?
I
Because
think
there's
there's
Caleb
8.
and Emily. There's
I think
3 Bellows. It's 5, and then yeah, it should be 8.
yeah.
So there could
So
be a
I think if he
tie.
gets it could be which I mean a tie between Jake or Katura. Who knows who votes where after that?
Right.
I'd imagine Katura would vote Jake. I can imagine like Jake voting Katura and that. I could see it. Just for a Bello to
Yeah.
win.
Right. Who knows if it's like 2 Rebas in the end and they split like a tie, that'd be pretty legendary as
I think
well.
that would be I think the best case scenario would be like a tie like that. I do think
Yeah.
it'd be set up that like Austin loses to D at the end. But that's
Right.
just I just think that's just so likely. And I
Right.
think
I
it's just
know.
I mean Boston Rob Amber situation where Amber beats
Yeah.
Boston Rob.
Right. I
Where
mean,
I mean
if they decide to get married afterwards, then
yeah, I mean it'd be perfect. He proposes at
yeah,
the after
good
show.
good for both of at the after show. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I don't like about the after show. They don't have time to like I don't know,
they don't have
like
time to
think
like
about
dwell on
stuff.
like what happened.
Right. They don't yeah,
Especially for
they're
the
just like
finalists, it's like they just lost like their
yeah.
dream and they're like
Yeah. The whole time, yeah. They just can't even
even the
talk.
winner's just like, I can't believe it.
Yeah. So I just like it's more raw emotion and everything. I'm like, sure, then do both. Like we need both. I see how
Yeah,
they're doing now.
unfortunately, all our picks are doomed to be voted out. So D, we will be seeing you next week.
Yeah,
We'll
right.
be seeing you. D.
We won't be seeing you. All right. Thanks y'all for watching or listening. If you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, do all the things. Same if you're listening, please rate and review our show. It helps just boost viewership so that other Survivor fans can watch or listen. And so we're grateful for y'all tuning in. We have 2 more to do, and then we're on to the off season, getting ready for 46 here in a few months, which will be pretty exciting. And we'll have a few things planned for that during the break. But other than that, y'all stay tuned for next week. We'll be back.
See ya.